Aww.
Never burn a bridge. Never, ever. I was lucky. I wouldn't have wanted to burn a bridge, but never burn a bridge because this industry is so small. And I think that your generation is so lucky that you know that you could actually seek out mentors, because when I look back on life, my biggest, happiest accomplishment is my children and following the bouncing ball down the path.
Yeah.
So I'd love to say, it was my whole intention to come back to education, but it was probably education was the furthest thing that I ever expected to be in when I graduated as an undergraduate. There was one article from stilettos to steel-toed boots. And it's the welcoming of women into the mining industry since 1990, when I was there trying to increase gender diversity.
I wonder, at this stage in your career, if you were to define what empowerment means to you now compared to maybe like 20 years ago when you were younger, how would you see the word empowerment today?
But I don't even hesitate. Here, I'll just pitch ideas to anyone. Get co-op. If you have an opportunity, I've had students over the years saying, no, if I go on co-op, that adds a year to my program. I always look forward. I don't believe in looking back.
Yeah.
Within an hour, Samantha phoned me for a job at ballet.
Hey guys, welcome back to Empower Her. And today you have me, Karen. Empower Her is a podcast that consists of two words, namely empower and woman. And today we're here at episode 3 with Donna. Donna brings a decade, or actually more than a decade of experience teaching at the College of Engineering, and she's taught various classes. And before I say any further, I'll let her introduce herself.
I'm a geological engineer in the College of Engineering. I got here because industry funded a mining option and they needed mining courses taught. And I have a background from industry, and it just led to this job.
So for those who don't know, last week we had the CIM Connect at Vancouver. So maybe we'll start from there. Maybe I'll ask you, how was the conference? How was everything? Did you enjoy your time there, and how is Vancouver?
I love the CIM Connect conference. It gets people from across Canada together. This year there was about 8,000 people in all different disciplines, all different backgrounds in mining that gathered in Vancouver, which gorgeous weather. We couldn't have asked for better weather, beautiful flowers, bright sunshine, and we just chatted. Basically, I started attending the conference Saturday evening at a volunteer appreciation event, helped to prepare a panel for the Monday, presented my own paper on the Wednesday, and it was just great to talk to a whole bunch of different people from all over Canada.
Maybe delving a little bit into our conversation. So I know you've kind of done like geological and mineral engineering. So maybe I'll start from there. What inspired you to get into this field? When you were younger, did you always know that this was your calling?
I didn't know anything about mining. I only fell into it because my brother was studying electrical engineering at the University of Waterloo, and I was in my first year of biochem at the University of Windsor, where I grew up. And we were studying leaves, and I didn't like leaves. And he had really cool co-op jobs and was making really good money. He's just a year older than me. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to get a really cool job. Mm-hmm. So I flipped through his book about engineering, and I saw geological engineering, and it said it involved rocks, and I loved rocks. So I applied, got in, and it wasn't until I was driving up on campus, I went, oh my goodness, what did I just get myself into? And the only reason why I'm in mining is because that's who offered me a co-op job, and they hired me after.
You know, because you said that, do you ever feel like the experiences we have in life is mostly because of what we get exposed to? Do you feel that way? That if we're not exposed to something, we'll actually never know if we actually like it?
I totally agree 100%. And the mining industry is an example where most of our jobs are hidden from the public view. Mm-hmm. So it really takes students getting out and trying things. Like try to get into a program with a co-op so that you get experiences and different things that you wouldn't have access to if you did the traditional path. So yes, absolutely 100%.
You know, I also feel like a lot of what I've done so far just in life is a lot of things because of people that have guided me. And those people are kind of like role models to me, like you and Jeannie, for example. Do you ever feel like where you currently are at this stage of your career is a series of contributions of so many people? Do you feel that role models have carved your path into who you are today?
That's the only reason why I'm sitting with you today talking about this. So my last co-op was 8 months with the Noranda Technology Center in Montreal. And all of those people have led later in my career path to offer me jobs and brought me here. So I worked for Noranda Technology Center for 2 years and then left because they were kept renewing on contract, though they had said it was going to be permanent. And my boss at Noranda Technology Center pulled me back into a permanent job after I left for 10 months. So he did it. And then within the company, we transferred to a mine within the operation, like within the Noranda family of mines. And then after that, I ended up taking time off when my third child was born. And somebody I volunteered with opened the door to come back into industry. But when there was a big strike in Sudbury and I would have been unemployed, somebody from my first job offered me to do a master's with him in mine-induced seismicity. So it was somebody from my first job. And then when I moved to Saskatoon, somebody from my first job, Doug Milne, asked me to come fill in for sabbatical for him while he was away. So literally everybody I met in my first job has, except for one person, has been the ones that have led me to later jobs in life.
Aww.
Never burn a bridge.
That's so
Never,
sweet.
ever. I was lucky. I wouldn't have wanted to burn a bridge, but never burn a bridge because this industry is so small. And who would know that?
Like, you never know when you'll bump into somebody.
No.
Yeah.
And you'll never know where they're going to open a door for you just because they know of your skills and talents. Because people move around a lot in the industry. All our operations have finite lives. Except when you get to Saskatchewan, where potash has such a mine life, but generally anywhere else, it's such a short life. So people move, and people remember, if you're a really good hard worker, caring, do your job well, they'll remember you, and they may open a door for you later on, which happened to me.
Yeah. Speaking of being kind, I know that you've also served as the board of directors for the WINWIM, Women in Nuclear, Women in Mining, Saskatchewan. How important do you feel mentorship is for women in this industry?
I think it's huge. And I think that your generation is so lucky that you know that you could actually seek out mentors. I just fumbled my way through the industry. And actually, I never even got mentored until maybe 10 years, not even 10 years ago. I wanted to know what it was like. And actually, my mentor was very helpful to me. So I admire your generation that you know that you can seek out informal or formal mentors, and there's tools out there to guide you. Like if you're looking for a mentor, you don't just say, hey, will you mentor me? Like you have to have conversations with them about what you're trying to learn. And all of that is out there for you guys to figure out and have meaningful relationships and mentorship programs that guide you through. So yes, I envy you for that.
Yeah.
I figured it out, and maybe I would have figured it out differently, though I don't regret the path I've come on if I could have talked to people. But one advantage of being a woman in mining is there aren't as many of us. So when we walk into a room, we often will go say hello to each other. So I've been able to meet women in all different types of roles across the country because it's like, who is she? Whereas a man walking into a room, it's 90% men. So who do you go? Generally, they'll go to their colleagues. So I think being a minority has helped me broaden my network and be different just because of the amazing different women I got to be exposed to. Because go ahead.
I also wonder, because you've been working in this industry for quite some time. Have you seen like meaningful changes that have changed over time for the better for women?
Yeah. See, when I was young, I guess because I started out in a research center and there was a few women there, we were always fewer of us. So I never questioned that I didn't belong.
Right.
But the one thing that I've seen recently is I was listening to women talk about the daycare that BHP is, I think they're looking at opening 2 of them.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And the fact that you guys can talk openly about family. So when I was young, having a family, I had to figure out based on what was available in the community, just like anybody else. And our days were long. And I managed it. But Rouyn-Noranda, where I was living at the time, was unique because they had a company, quote unquote, daycare at the time, but it was only open from 7 to 5:30, I think. And I worked 8 to 4 and it was an hour drive. So I was always running, like the 7 o'clock here and run into the car, literally run to the car to get to work on time and then get back before but now, like, I didn't know when I was started that people had nannies, that you could actually do other types of, so that's a huge thing that has changed, is that they consider families now.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want a woman to be afraid to have a family because of her job.
Right.
Because when I look back on life, my biggest, happiest accomplishment is my children.
Right.
So I think, to me, that's the biggest thing. It's all just different jobs. But then organizations like Win-Win, people with fly in, fly out, they can talk to other women about those kinds of things, because there's huge age diversity. And now men are joining it, so you get the support of men in it as well. Like, I think it's a fantastic organization that I'm glad has grown so strong since I've moved here.
Yeah, I agree. I also feel like because the mining industry, whether you believe it or not, right, like it's a little gender imbalance. Like it's just a more male dominated space, right? When you first started in this industry, apart from the flexibility of having a family or prioritizing your time or having that time management, what do you think were other early challenges that you faced as a woman?
I don't know. I always just loved what I was doing, so I never really considered them challenges. I was just I think I just like learning. And every time I had an opportunity to learn, I was just so caught up in fascinated by what was happening around me. I really did not focus on the gender thing at all when I was young. So when I was a co-op student, one of my jobs was working on testing highways. So sometimes it was concrete, so I'd have to carry big buckets of concrete. So to do that, I would just learn how they told you to stand and lift things, and I was just more careful and I did it slower. But then I think, even though it was really heavy, I think because I was a woman and I had to make sure I did it properly, I think I was safer than some men who might just grab the pails and swing them around and go. So yes, there was things like weight, heavy things and that, but I just adjusted.
Do you think, or maybe I should say, what do you think companies could do to support women a little bit more? Because if we go into various companies, we see more men as engineers and maybe fewer women, or even in leadership roles. In a lot of companies, we see men holding higher positions. What do you think companies could do to further support women, whether that be reinforcing more mentorship? What do you think they could do to further improve that space to make women feel more comfortable in that area?
See, when I started, like a dry, that's a shower facilities, they were just starting to make shower facilities for women. But now you have beautiful shower facilities for women at most operations. So make sure they have comparable facilities so that they feel like the actual infrastructure is built for women. Because in the beginning, I went to a couple places where it was pretty basic. And whereas the guys had massive rooms, like give us the same equipment, like to dry out our overalls and all of that, right? So give us the infrastructure that makes us belong there. I think it's up to women to support each other and our male colleagues, but just do your job and consider women for promotions just as equally as men. It's easy to want to pick your own somebody like you to replace the role, but consider other people. I'm hoping it's not as much of a barrier now. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's improved over time just with me talking to people. I think in the past, as you said, right, like maybe the flexibility, that wasn't maybe an area that people put too much focus on, but I think over time, that's an area that's companies started to look into more.
Like COVID changed a lot.
Yes.
COVID changed. I just think about when I went back after my first maternity leave, my daughter had to have a monthly doctor's appointment. And I saved maternity days so that they had to give me that as time off. But now COVID changed the flexibility that you can get time off. I'll do the work in the evening just so that I can go to this appointment. So I think COVID helped the world in that way. I hope that the benefits of a bit of flexibility, because I can't think of anything else that came good out of COVID. But
maybe for young women, those who are willing to go into this space of mining engineering, what do you think are some of the mindsets or some of the life habits that women could embrace more confidently to thrive in this space?
just be confident in doing your job, and don't get pigeonholed into a certain job, like ask to be moved around. I got moved around because we moved across the country. So naturally, I was given exposure to different jobs. And I think the way any of us can grow is by doing a variety of different things, not the same thing for 6 years in a row.
Right.
So seek out opportunities to have variety in your job and get exposure to different duties.
Yeah.
Expand your skills. Never stop learning. To anybody out there, I continue to learn every day. And I think more and more companies are hiring for multi-skill sets. Don't expect that what you learned in school is going to serve you forever. You're set up. You have to keep growing. So ask to go to conferences like the CIM Connect so that you can see what other people are doing across the country, and you can talk to people. Don't be shy. If the speaker says something, walk up to them after and ask them questions.
Yeah.
So it's up to you to seek out information to create your own career path. Don't just rely on the company giving you those opportunities to grow.
I think I very much relate with that, because I was telling Jeannie actually when she was here in the podcast last time, as I've started talking to people, knowing people a little bit more, it's there and then where I then realized that not everybody has a linear path to their career.
Not at all.
Right? And I think that I only understood when I spoke to more people. This is not something that school teaches you, right? Because when you're in school, a lot of people say that maybe they'll ask you, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? But little do you know that as you grow up, there's so many things that changes. The environment changes. When I was younger, we probably didn't know that AI will exist maybe, right now. So do you ever feel that the opportunities that we get after we graduate, let's say university, that really helps to shape our career? And do you feel that networking plays a very important role in our career progression?
I recommend it to anybody to network. And I think the best time to start is when you're a student.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's so nerve-wracking. There's groups like CIM Saskatchewan branch specifically makes it inexpensive for students to attend. And they want students to sit with the industry people so that they can chat. Everybody in industry was a student, even if they only went to high school. Everybody was a student at one point and had to learn to function. So we know what you're thinking. We know what it's like to be you. But I would not be who I am without networking. And the only reason why I learned about networking and mining was because of WISE Sudbury, Women in Science and Engineering Sudbury. In an interview, the interviewer told me, there's this group in Sudbury. And I joined them, and it completely changed my life.
Oh, nice.
Like I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't been exposed to that. And the skills I learned through volunteering and the people I get to work with, like I've worked with retired CEOs as a volunteer, people that you would never get exposed to, but you get exposed to their mentality. I've worked with different disciplines like accounting, HR, like everything that you would not work with in a technical role on a daily basis. But those skills help me do my engineering job so much better.
Out of curiosity, because I know you've worked in industry roles and then you've transitioned into becoming now a professor, what motivated you to switch between going into industry roles and then going into the educational pathway?
There's nothing that motivated it in my whole life. I just followed the path.
The path that was created.
Like when I moved to Saskatoon, I was offered 3 jobs. Like I just said, I'm moving to Saskatoon, and I was offered 3 jobs here. 2 were with basically in consulting, and then Doug Milne asked if I'd fill in for him on sabbatical.
Right.
And what I learned by working in consulting is the projects are really interesting, but you're always trying to find the next project, and you never get to finish them. And I just wasn't ready to commit to a consulting life again. And I was waiting to defend my master's. So I just went, Doug's opportunity is so convenient because it's short term. So I'll just stay at the university for 6 months. And I was working in the helping them with rock mechanics lab duties as well. It's like 6 months to a year, and then I'll maybe consider consulting. But it just they then started mining options, so they needed a lecturer, and I was having fun. And it's like, I can develop that course. So I did, and it just led to one thing to another. So I've never planned out anything. It's always based on what was available at the time and following the bouncing ball down the path.
Yeah.
So I'd love to say, oh, it was my whole intention to come back to education, but it was probably education was the furthest thing that I ever expected to be in when I graduated as an undergraduate. I never expected to even do a master's, which I did in my 40s.
Wow. That's very inspiring.
Yeah. So I just think some people like to have their whole life planned out. That's my goal. I want to be the CEO of that kind of company, or I want to do this. And for me, I think I've learned over the years, I really like the technical.
Right.
And what I liked about the university was it kept me more engaged in the technical versus being like a project manager. Or, yeah.
When you've taught students in engineering, did you notice any challenges or any rewards to your personal self? For example, maybe when you were teaching engineering students, you've learned so much from them and you've grown personally. Did you notice anything like that, whether it be challenges while teaching engineering students or rewards that you gained for your personal self?
I sometimes think it's all been personal gain. Because when I started teaching, I guess, like towards the last few years, my kids were, all three went through university, and now they just finished.
Nice.
And so it was like almost teaching my own kids.
Right.
So I could understand what the kids were going through. I think my goal as a professor was always to give them more confidence, just so that they would feel more welcome into it, and to show them the opportunities. Like if you get involved I love dragging them out to CIM Saskatchewan branch. I love getting them involved in conference, getting free conference tickets, anything to get them exposed so that they feel like they'll belong more so before they even get there. I just really appreciate learning with them. One of the projects I did was when I developed my first course was I wanted to, okay, cool. I was trained in geological engineering, not mining. So it's like, where are the mines in Canada? And it's like, there's no list. There didn't exist. So then, am I a bad searcher? So one of my assignments has always been to get them to review a mine in Canada from the technical aspect. And I learned through them that there really isn't any information out there. Right. And they just keep reinforcing that where I saw gaps, they also couldn't find. So
then you built your database.
Then I built my database. Yes. But it was all based on them also finding, like, am I really bad at searching? Am I really bad at research? I did do a master's, so I did learn a bit about it. But no, it's something that didn't exist.
Right.
So I'm learning with them and would be fascinated to hear what they find, because no one can ever know everything.
Right. Is that what you presented at the conference, like the mine database?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of. Okay. So because the database, there's nothing written, I'm trying to find basic information about all these historical mines to add to my historical mines database. Yeah. I realized that the CIM bulletins were published from 1908 to 2006. Now they publish a magazine, and they're all locked in archives. Which one of the few places they're stored in Canada is here. Right. There was one article from stilettos to steel-toed boots. And it's the welcoming of women into the mining industry since 1990, when I was there trying to increase gender diversity.
Right.
So I was part of that movement. I was one of the females they were trying to attract.
Right. I wonder, at this stage in your career, if you were to define what empowerment means to you now compared to maybe like 20 years ago when you were younger, how would you see the word empowerment today?
I see the word empowerment as confidence. I'm not afraid to speak up. Something I've always loved to create. In my life, that's my passion. Since I was little, I always had to be making things. Now I'm a quilter in my day and at home. Yeah. And I realized that over the years. And one way I like to create in mining was I like to write. I didn't know I liked to write. So I saw something in a CIM journal once and wanted to reply to it. And I was so afraid to write, but it's like, I'm going to do it. And I had my friend help me. My son's in English. He helped me, and I'm like so brave. And now we're working on our 9th article, myself and Bruce Downing, on this theme, what have you done today that did not involve a mineral that Bruce introduced me to? And it's like, oh, I just want to write this. I'm just going to go sit down and write this article. And like, I don't even hesitate. Here's a new idea. I like creative ideas, and Bruce also likes creative ideas, so we feed off each other.
Nice.
But I don't even hesitate. Here, I'll just pitch ideas to anyone. like it's totally changed, and it's all in the confidence.
Right. Yeah.
And realize confidence in your own skills, that I actually have the right skills, that they're developed enough and that they're worthwhile, which I would have always doubted myself as a young engineer. Never had confidence.
That's very interesting, because I think it was last Thursday to one of the events called SIPE, which is something young professional event. And it was Keith Martell who was presenting, and it was very interesting. He said, competence brings confidence. So the more competent you are in your skills, the more competent you are in your skills, the more confident you'll feel, which I think really stuck with me. I also wonder, because you're a professor at the College of Engineering, if you were to change maybe one thing on the way something is taught in engineering, or maybe just changing any part of the educational curriculum for engineering students, what do you think you would want to change? Maybe you don't want to change anything. Maybe you want to add something. Maybe you want to remove something. What do you think that would be?
What I like about University of Saskatchewan, and I think why I've stayed, is because particularly in our department, they encourage hands-on. And I think we need to get away from computers sometimes, but actually to do stuff.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for universities to stick students in a computer room, but I think they need the hands-on component, and that should be encouraged. The practical side. And I'd love it. Our department is strong because everybody has industry experience. And I would love that all academics have to spend a certain amount of time at a company so that they can see how industry really functions, and they can bring those experiences into the classroom. So stressing, like research, fundamental research, a lot of them do is so valuable, but sometimes I would like them to have the experience of how companies work, so they can teach that to students. But I'm lucky in our program, we do a lot of that here.
Nice. Yeah, love that. If you were to maybe give 2 or 3 advices maybe to young engineers, doesn't have to be specifically women, could be men, women, people of any kind, what would you give them an advice, maybe 2 or 3 advices for the future?
So students, I think you should get involved on student teams, learn to network, or like if you're not into, like they're in engineering, there's like the concrete toboggan, there's different types of things. If you can, if those don't interest you, get in student groups, get exposed to learning how the world works beyond. Learn to network like you did. Get out to events, even 1 or 2 a year with industry, because they want you there. So that's the one, build your networking skills. In the real world, it all comes down to people skills. That's, and lots of engineers are introverted, and push your limits and just get out and interact with people. That's the number one. What else would it? Get co-op. If you have an opportunity, I've had students over the years saying, no, if I go on co-op, that adds a year to my program.
That doesn't matter.
The students that go on co-op, I can pretty much tell the difference in 4th year. And in engineering, that counts towards your professional designation. It saves you a year at the end, so you're not losing anyway, and you're making a lot of money. So get the practical experience, get out and network. I know my 3rd one. Your 3rd one is work in groups. Never work alone. Sit with your classmates. If you're working on an assignment, try it on your own first. Don't go to AI first. Try it with your friends if you're having trouble doing it alone, so that you actually try to solve it and think about it. And then don't be afraid of AI. Once you've worked through, try to figure it out. Even if you're writing a report on something, a lab report, write it. And then use it as an editing tool, and use it as a tool to say why, like to guide you through the steps, but only after you've thought about it. It's incredible tools out there, like a calculator. I can't imagine doing math without a calculator. And now I can't imagine writing without getting AI to review my work. I'm becoming a better writer. But you have to think first and then let it help you.
Because you don't want to lose that critical thinking aspect of yourself.
And the reason why you need to work in groups is because you see how other people think. And when you get to the work environment, everybody thinks differently. And it's starting to train your brain to appreciate that people think differently, and different ways of thinking. We're all justified. Like
Right.
But different ways of thinking come to better solutions.
I agree. Yeah. Now that you've worked, I think, for years now in this industry, if you were to say maybe some stark contrast between the past and the current ways of working, whether that be in the industry or in the educational field, what do you think are some of those stark differences that you can see?
I think one of the main differences is the amount of data you have available to you,
Mm,
which is why we need more people like you
right.
to actually help us process all that data.
Mm,
Before a piece of equipment, we didn't even have Wi-Fi underground,
right.
like you rely on radios.
Right.
Now you can know where people are in 3D. And I think it's almost information overload. And
Mm,
now your generation is going to help us use that data better.
mm,
We're not always collecting, like if we're not using it, it's a waste of time
right.
if we're not analyzing it. And maybe sometimes we're collecting too much, I'm not sure, but we
Mhm.
need people like you. So the nature
Mhm.
of the jobs has changed.
Yes, I agree. Looking back at your career, do you ever have any regrets, whether that be maybe the major that you picked or the pathway that you picked for your career? Do you have any regrets? And maybe you don't, and I think that's great. But looking back at your career, do you have any regrets on what you've chosen for yourself?
You know what my biggest regret is? The only regret, I always look forward. I don't believe in looking back.
Yeah.
When I moved to Sudbury, I was pregnant with my third. So I
Mm,
ended up, what was going to be a year off,
mm,
ended up being 6. And I
mm,
remember crying because I thought I would never work in engineering again.
mm,
But in that time, I got really involved with Women in Science and Engineering Sudbury and developed all these other skills but I was looking into what should I do next? Nobody's going to ever want me to be an engineer again
mm,
because I took 6 years off.
mm.
And I regret ever thinking that because that was one of the funnest 6 years of my entire life with my little kids.
Nice. Yeah.
And through volunteering and getting to try all these different things that I would never do in my daily job, which ended up being skills that I've brought to the rest of my life, working career.
Yeah.
So my regret was that I was sad that I thought I would never work again.
Mm,
So you got to keep learning. And the reason why I got pulled in was somebody said, it was a woman, Christina, she like, you work so hard and like, will you come work for me?
aw,
So it was somebody recognizing in me,
yeah.
but that would have never happened if I had just stayed home
Mm,
and lived my own life. But it was putting myself out there in the community in a different way
yeah.
that somebody from the community noticed me.
Hmm. That's true. And I also feel like everything happens for a reason, right? Like what you thought at that time was 6 years of, you taking care of your kids, actually was 6 years of you building that skill sets that would have helped you for your later future.
Incredibly so. And
Yeah.
it set up my whole path
Mm,
for what I've become.
right.
And if I had just kept working in my job and going to work every day and
Mhm.
living the way I had for the previous more than 10 years, I
Mhm.
never would have become who I've become. I needed that time to see the world in a different way.
Mm,
So what I thought at the time was just devastating that I gave up my career ended up creating opportunities that have served for 20
yeah.
plus years after I returned back to the industry.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, maybe if you had to, you don't have to, but if you wanted to maybe name people like your role models that have supported you throughout your career, who do you think those people would be?
I kind of wanted it like I always thought of Eve Potvin, the manager, my boss at Noranda
Mhm.
Technology Center.
Mm,
Then Marty Hudima from Noranda Technology Center, who got me to my master's.
right.
Doug Milne at the Noranda Technology Center, who got me here.
Yeah.
Christina Visser, who saw it in me
Mhm.
and pulled me from being a stay-at-home mom back into industry.
Mhm.
Samantha Esley was the one I got interviewed at Valet
Yeah.
when my youngest was 6 months old. This is weird. So I got a phone call at, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning. The day I moved literally within a week of moving to Sudbury, I found a daycare and put my name in it
Right. Wow.
because I knew that from experience, it's hard to get into daycares.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
1 year later,
Mhm.
she was born at Christmas.
Mhm.
I moved in May.
Yeah.
She was born at Christmas in May, so she's 6 months old.
Mhm.
I got a phone from the daycare saying they had a spot. And I
Wow.
went, wow, she's 6 months old. And with my generation, I went back to work when the other two were 5 months old. So
Right.
this is the time I should be looking for a job.
Right.
Within an hour, Samantha phoned me for a job at Valet.
No way.
Isn't that weird?
That's like
No, but
Oh,
it's just like, what's a chance that within an hour the universe set
Yeah.
up a daycare spot and an interview? And I went to the interview and she offered me the job in the interview, but told me about
Congrats.
why Sudbury.
Mm,
And I went, so this is all within days of, right?
yeah.
So I took the daycare spot and put her in. And then that's when I realized I have 3 young kids under the age of 5. And it would probably be at a mine an hour out of town again. And I was just physically too exhausted.
Right.
So I chose volunteering and turned down the job. And that's what made me so sad is like, now my mining career's over. But what is a chance that the universe within an hour, 60 minutes of each other gave me
Yeah.
the chance to choose to go back to work?
Right. Wow.
Isn't that
That's
just,
surprising.
I just always get shocked by the timing of that.
Wow.
Anyway, and that's why I was sad, because I thought by having chosen the other route, that's it. I'm just going to go volunteer. And then holy smokes, I volunteer across the country and I got recognized by Apex. The highest honor is being recognized as a volunteer with them. And I received an award in February for volunteerism. Because of the 6 years, I've spent thousands of hours volunteering. And I honed those skills a lot while I was with my kids, because I wanted, it was like a job for me, right? To keep me technically active.
Right.
And then I never did it for anything except because I loved the people I got to volunteer with. They're always giving people all these different disciplines. It was so fun to work with them. I was the one winning.
Right. You know, I agree with you so much because I feel like when I volunteer, I just feel happy.
And I listed a few people's names, right?
Yeah.
But it's all the colleagues I've worked with at every job, at the mine site, at the other people at Noranda, the people at the university, all those my actual colleagues every day. I can't name them because there'd be too many, but they're what give me the absolute joy in work. So as well as the volunteer community, it is my colleagues. And I think everybody in a technical role should get on LinkedIn. And it's so fun when somebody from your past just sends a message when you post something, or like when I went to the conference this week and you go and give a hug to a past person that you used to work with, and what's happening and how are your kids like, or what are you up to these days?
So with that being said, I want to say, Donna, thank you so much for making time on a Saturday to be a part of my podcast. But yeah, thank you.
Well, you're so inspiring to everyone.
Aww.
This is who these undergrads have to aspire to be, somebody who's a go-getter.
That's a lie. I'm also going to say I'm giving Donna 2 gift cards. So we have six sponsors to our podcast. These are 2 of them. So this is Holistic Physiotherapy and Wellness.
Thank you.
So they do amazing massage therapies, and the massager there is called Ashley Preet, and she does amazing work, and they're located in downtown. And this one's Delish by Tish. They do amazing soups, cheesecakes, and paninis, and amazing drinks. So it's my favorite place. I went there on Thursday, and the owner's Tisha, and she's amazing.
Well, thank you very much. I look forward to pampering myself.
Yes. Before I end, or before I say anything else, do you want to say anything to the audience before we end? Anything at all?
What have you done today that did not involve a mineral?
Yes.
That's the thing I like, trying to change the narrative of mining from, if it isn't grown its mind, adding to that narrative to have people question, because everything we use, and if anybody can come up with something that we haven't done today that didn't involve a mineral, reach out to me. Thank you very much.
I'm also going to say, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave it below our podcast episode. And with that being said, we're going to say bye.